Hey, Math 2. I am just going to go through kind of the lesson and do a couple IXL example problems. Um, in this particular lesson, I give you two shorter IXL things just to review factoring. So we have the zero product property. Well, that's the video. We have the solving a quadratic using zero product property, and then factoring quadratics with the leading coefficient of 1. So remember, you got to get the 80% SMART score or 30 minutes of practice. So I'm just going to go through a couple of these. Um, so for the first one, it's pretty straightforward. Basically, you just got to remember your zero product property rule. So we have to solve for s. So we have s times s minus 2. So you just set both of those equal to 0. So s, set that equal to 0. Oh, well, s is 0. And then s minus 2, set that equal to 0. Okay, so I'm going to add 2 to this side and also add 2 to this side to get s by itself. So that cancels out. And then s is equal to 2. All right, so those are our answers right there. We have s is equal to 0 or s is equal to 2. Okay, excellent. All right, so I'm going to clear this out, and then I'm going to go on to the next one. So this is factoring. So to remember our factoring rules, I actually included in the lesson down at the bottom our notes on factoring. So we're going to write it in standard form. This is already in standard form for us. The next thing we want to do is break up term b and rewrite the expression. So remember, when we have a quadratic, it's always in the form, it's always in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so we need to break apart this middle b term, okay? And so back to the notes, we have to break up that term and rewrite the expression. So we're going to use this first strategy. You can also use a diamond problem if that makes more sense to you, and you remember that better. But I like showing the multiplying a by c and then multiplying the factors or listing the factors to find the sum. Because remember, we're trying to multiply these together and then find up factors that add up to this middle term. Okay, so a times c is going to be 1, because there's just a 1 right here. So 1 times 4, because we have 4 over in this c spot. So that's 1 times 4 is just 4. Okay, so I need to find factors of 4 that add up to 5. Well, those are pretty easy to find because there's only 2 sets of factors, right? 1 times 4 or 2 times 2. Okay, 2 times 2, well, that equals 4. 1 times 4, that's 4, but then 1 plus 4 is going to give us our middle b term of 5. So that's what I'm going to use, the 1 and the 4, to break up this middle b term. Okay, so instead of 5n, I'm going to have 1n plus 4n in the middle. Okay, so right now I've got n squared, I'm rewriting this, plus 1n from our factors over here, plus 4n, again, from our factors here, we're breaking this 5n up, plus 4. Okay, now if I go back to my steps, I'm looking for common factors in 2 terms. Okay, so I'm going to use the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. So we'll go back here. Let's get a different color just so we know we're on this next step. Okay, so we're going to look for factors in these 2 terms and then these 2 terms. Okay, well, I have n squared here and I have 1 in here. What do they have in common? Both of them have n. So I can take an n out of each term, and then I'm going to be left with 1n when I take an n out, plus, well, 1n divided by n, that's just 1. So I have n plus 1. And look, if I distributed that, n times n is n squared. n times 1 is 1n. So that works out. Now I need to look for a common factor in these. Well, I have 4n and just 4. So I can factor a 4 out, okay? So I'm going to have plus 4, and then inside my parentheses, I'll have n plus 1, okay? Again, when I multiply this 4 through, I have 4 times n is 4n. 4 times 1 is just 4, okay? Now I'm pretty much done. The last step, which I'm going to switch back over here, factor the term in parentheses and then write area as a product of those factors. So I'm going to take out this n plus 1. I'm just going to write it out in parentheses, n plus 1. And then I'm just going to combine n plus 4 in parentheses over here. N plus 4. Okay? And right there, that should be my final answer right there. N plus 1 times n plus 4. So I'm just going to write that in. I think that's exactly what they're looking for. N plus 1 times n plus 4. Okay? Well done. All right. So you're going to use the same strategy that we just showed here to solve something like this. Okay? So going back through that, it's breaking apart this middle term. So we need to break that apart by multiplying a times c. So in this example, you would do 1 times 20, and then find those factors that add up to be 12. Okay? If you need more help with that, remember my office hours are listed in the lesson. So I have office hours Tuesday 11 to 12 and Thursday 1 to 2. Or if you have another question you can't make those times, just take a screenshot of the problem and I will do an example problem like this and I'll post it or send it back to you. All right, let's have a good week. Bye.